Anthony Staz Stazicker CGC, ThruDark Co-Founder, former SBS Special Boat Service. The hard road will take you home. I'm thrilled to share the latest episode, Staz from ThruDark, with you all. I had the honour of sitting down with Anthony, a former member of the UK Special Boat Service. His journey from the front lines of Afghanistan to founding the groundbreaking Tier 1 quality clothing brand ThruDark is nothing short of inspiring. Here are some key takeaways and intriguing insights. Key lessons and ideas. Bravery Redefined. Anthony shares that bravery isn't the absence of fear, but the ability to act despite it. His stories from Afghanistan, where he was awarded the Conspicuous Gallantry Cross, highlight this nuanced understanding of courage. Medals and meaning. The CGC, awarded for valour, is a symbol of collective achievement rather than individual heroism. Anthony's sentiment, medals are for mothers, underscores the shared nature of military success. Training and experience. The rigorous training in the Royal Marines and SBS prepared Anthony for high-pressure situations. He emphasises that exposure to challenging environments and repetitive training are crucial for developing an automatic response to stress. Transition to civilian life. Anthony's shift from military to civilian life was not easy. He co-founded the clothing brand ThruDark with his friend Lewis Tinsley, channeling their military experiences into a new venture. This transition highlights the importance of finding a new mission and maintaining a sense of community. Authenticity in business. ThruDark's success is rooted in authenticity. The brand's gear is tested in real-world, extreme conditions, and their marketing features real people, not models. This genuine approach resonates deeply with their audience. Learning from failure. Anthony's mantra, I either win or I learn, is a powerful reminder that failure is a stepping stone to success. This perspective has shaped his approach to both business and life. Support systems. The importance of having a support system, whether in the military or civilian life, cannot be overstated. Anthony's partnership with Lewis and the support from his partner Ruby have been crucial in his journey. Special Forces insights. High-stakes operations. Anthony recounts two significant ops in Afghanistan, including thwarting a large-scale Taliban attack and a high-stakes firefight. These stories provide a gripping look into the realities of Special Forces operations. From sniper to entrepreneur. The transition from a specialized military role to civilian life is challenging. Anthony's journey from sniper to entrepreneur is a testament to adaptability and resilience. ThruDark's mission. The brand's strapline, Endeavour Through Adversity, reflects their philosophy of pushing through challenges. Their high-performance gear is designed for extreme conditions, inspired by Anthony's military experiences. I hope these highlights spark your curiosity and entice you to listen to the full episode. Anthony's journey is a powerful reminder of the importance of purpose, resilience, and authenticity in navigating life's challenges. You can find Staz and his brand ThruDark at the links below in the show notes, or if you're listening here, www.thrudark.com, that's through THRU, and on Insta, @ThruDark. Thanks for watching. I'm Damien Porter, former New Zealand Special Forces operator, subject matter expert from HowNotToDieGuy.com. And you're listening to my Straight Talk Mind and Muscle podcast, sponsored by State, the ultimate daily formula for optimum hormone health, stress management, energy, and performance. 100% natural and clinically proven ingredients. Provides everything you need to raise your game in a convenient gut-friendly capsule. And my new sponsor, Michael Mason of the Mason Survival Protocol. Links for my former shows are in the show notes below. Thanks for watching. And we're live. Welcome to the Straight Talk Mind and Muscle podcast. Welcome to my guest this evening, all the way from the UK, and Anthony, well, it's going to be a tough one, Stazicker.
Good, mate. Good job on that. Yeah, it was good.
It's funny, I only know you as Staz, but look, welcome to the show. You've got some alphabets after your name. You got CGC. So what is that?
Yeah, so at CGC, it's the Conspicuous Gallantry Cross. It was awarded to me back in 2013, when I was serving in the Special Boat Service out in Afghanistan, in Kabul, and it's a medal that is awarded for valour or bravery in the face of the enemy, basically. And it's in terms of rank order, as medals are, it's second only to the Victoria Cross.
Wow, that's interesting. So speaking of Victoria Cross, one of my bosses, Willie Appiata, he won the VC, and in 2007, I think it was, when it was awarded. I'll never forget, he came back from the ceremony down in Wellington, came back to the squadron lines in Auckland, and just tossed it across the table to us. Here, boys, have a look at this.
Oh,
It kind of dawned on me, that's just doing your job, and you're getting heralded for it, but you don't go into that role thinking you're going to get medals. So can you speak to the job you did, or was it just another part of your day to
yeah.
day?
Well, yeah, I guess, yeah. I'll answer both those questions. The first one in particular, I would like to touch on, because I wrote the book, The Hard Road Will Take You Home, and actually one of the chapters I touch on this point, and the title of the chapter is "Medals Are for Mothers," and it's something, especially within our world and special forces in particular. Look, at the end of the day, to to receive recognition for doing your job from an operator point of view, from a personal point of view, my point of view, was almost kind of, well, that's my fucking job, right?
Yeah,
And I kind of don't get it. But then I reframed that and sort of looked at it as a collective of, a representative of the service and the lads and the guys. And to your point earlier in the story about, throwing the medal on and saying, there it is, boys. It's almost like you bring a trophy home, but it's for everybody,
yeah,
and I'm not necessarily, standing here saying I did think it's something that was extraordinary that nobody else in the service could or would have done. It was quite the opposite. It was, however you frame it, right place, right time, or kind of, wrong place, right time, whatever that looks like. But, there is that. I still remember receiving the phone call from the then commanding officer at the time. I was away in Texas on a long range shooter sniper instructor course, and kind of receiving that phone call from him. I thought I was in trouble, like most guys do. It's like, it was a call that came after another call from the RSM saying, Staz, the boss needs to speak to you. And I said, what do you mean the boss? He was like, the CO. And I was like, oh shit, what have I done? And he said, no, it's all good. It's positive. So obviously then received the phone call, and he said, look, you've been written up, and it looks like, you congratulations, you've been awarded a prestigious medal, a Conspicuous Gallantry Cross. And at the time, probably like most guys, it was like, bloody hell, what is one of those, and what does that mean? And and then you kind of have that weird, even in our line of work, that imposter syndrome feeling of, fuck, am I worthy of that? Do I deserve it? What are the lads going to think? And all these
Mm,
thoughts. And actually, that was put to bed very quickly by the guys in the squadron and the other operators, just saying, fucking well done, thoroughly deserved. We read what you did, we saw what you did. Well done. And it's great to see other people. And I would be the same. For people that are deserving of certain medals, then absolutely, that's a net positive for the service and for the group in particular. I see it as that.
yeah,
In terms of the job itself. I did sort of multiple tours of Afghanistan. I think it was my third or fourth tour with the Special Boat Service in 2013, but it was slightly different to my job that I'd done previously. The sort of traditional high value target out with the squadron.
yep,
This one in particular, I was working with a partner force. I was their instructor, their lead. I was their kind of point guy, but it was also helping out another UK Special Forces outfit. In terms of the find and the fix, and we were out in Kabul running around, and after naughty people and naughty groups, and it was two jobs in particular that I got wrote up for, and I'll try and summarize very quickly. One would have been the largest ever improvised explosive initiated device, a multi-staged attack on coalition bases and forces. It had multiple out of town Taliban fighters. In short, there was circa 13 tons of HME explosive that they
jeez,
were going to load onto two lorry vehicles, drive that into a base, blow the base up, then follow up attack. So that we thwarted that, and that was my job. I led the guys in on that. I say led the guys in. Actually, the partner force I was working with, we just kind of got to the breach. I put the breach on, blew the doors. At that point it was follow me, let's go. And I just remember the Afghan commander looking at me and shaking his head and walking away, probably thinking, actually, if this goes off, i.e. the explosive, we're all going to be pink mist. But for whatever reason, and prior to that particular job, they'd been great. They'd followed me everywhere. They'd been very reliable. And for whatever reason, they just didn't fancy it that night. So I had to make a decision very quickly thankfully, I had 4 other SBS operators on the ground with me that I'd called in
Yep.
to support, just because of the sensitivity and the nature of the job. Anyway, I ran in with those guys, and we sort of dealt with the threat, and it was all compound, clear, secure, and it was a very, obviously mission success. That was then handed over and hailed as a partner force job that was all over the news, which is great. We were sort of operating then in the shadows. So that was one job. The other job, I kind of, because of what happened on that job, I then handed another high value target, sensitive operation over to another partner force with the Norwegians. And I jumped on the job with them. But I said, look, I'm handing this over to you and your guys, because, I've kind of lost faith in mine.
Yeah.
But I will come on the ground, because I've been working this target and I kind of know the patterns, the movements, the areas, and I've had the area soaked for ages. So anyway, long story long again, apologies. In short, we were huge firefight. I ran up a forward-facing sort of shaly mountain, caught a 500-pound bomb in on a position, was given a readout that it was all, everybody was dead. I then walk up, or sort of scramble up this mountain to sort of check the BDA, or battle damage assessment. And I got about 10 meters short, and the big IR beam of death came down and lit me up like a Christmas tree. I obviously hit the deck, was on the comms to the air platform saying, what the fuck are you doing? That's me, thinking that they're lighting me up. And they were like, no, you've got movement to your front. So next thing I know, it's just loads of gunfire coming over, grenades coming over into my position. And now I'm in a pretty exposed position.
Yeah.
And this was, again, being watched by the whole of, ICOM-SOF and the whole NATO forces were watching this. So I had to kind of make a decision very quickly as to, either try and dig a bigger hole with my chin in the prone position, or assault the position. Obviously, chose the latter, assaulted the position, fought through, and again was written up for that. So it's kind of 2 jobs: one for strategic importance in terms of the IED, and one was just the looking back now, probably the stupidity of assaulting a position on my own. They termed it bravery, and I guess. And then for the whole operation of the job, in terms of what I was doing, I was working with a lot of autonomy, a lot of partner forces, a lot of other coalition forces, and that was the kind of, hopefully, the shortest version of those kind of stories.
Wow. And thank you for mentioning the book, The Hard Road Will Take You Home, because we'll definitely put that in the show notes. And prior to us literally recording here, the show notes, I record them as well, so people already know who you are and what you do. And I wasn't going to kick off with your military side of things, but there's a couple of questions I need to ask there. One, how did your training experience? No, sorry. First off, what rank were you around that time? Because you said you had a lot of autonomy.
Yeah. So traditionally, this LO's position was held. The rank for the position was a sergeant. But at the time, I wasn't supposed to be doing that job. I was supposed to be out doing the squadron job. But the guy that was given the job as a sergeant, who was in the SBS, I think 2 weeks prior to deploying, they turned around, and one of the stipulations for being on that role in that job was to be a demolitions expert.
Right.
He wasn't. That was highlighted, and then he went, shit, we need a guy to cover this job in this position.
Yeah.
I was a senior corporal at the time. I'd done multiple kind of tours. I had enough experience, but didn't hold the rank. So they made me into an acting sergeant to do the job, and obviously also held the necessary skills with regards to demolition. So I then went and did that job as an acting sergeant. When I came back from that job, I then went on to a senior command course to actually attain the rank of a sergeant.
Brilliant. And that kind of segues perfectly into the next question. Because of your experience, and it's such a thing with special forces, we've got lower ranks, but they're highly, highly skilled. I'll never forget a sergeant now, and I can mention his name. He's been on the show. He's now Sergeant Major of the Defence Force, was Sergeant Major of the Army, was the RSM of one of the NZSS group, William Moffat. And I'll never forget when I was in the unit, I was hearing about this sergeant briefing, major generals from the United States, and these so-called low-level guys briefing these, the top people in the world. So I guess, Staz, what was your training experience? Did it cover you to assault that position? Because you said bravery, you said stupidity, as Tony, I've forgotten his name now. It'll come to me at some stage time. But bravery is a choice. Bravery is a series of choices. I don't think anybody's brave. I just think they continue to make brave choices at certain times. So, did your training experience ready you to assault that position single-handedly?
Yeah, I think it comes down to training, but I think it comes down to experience.
Mm.
And a good friend of mine, Gaz Bamford, who was he runs the Girata stuff now. He was my team leader when I turned up. Aptly nicknamed the Iceman. He was cool as a cucumber, but he talks about experience. And again, something I begged, borrowed, and stole, and put that into my own book was experiences times 1,000 equals experienced. So, you don't wake up experienced. You
No.
have to gain experience through the doing. And it was exactly that. Because I'd been on when I joined in the military 2005, I did 3 years in the Royal Marines. I was a sniper. I deployed to Afghanistan with the Royal Marines. I then saw the special forces that kind of planted the seed. And then I went on selection in 2008. And then I did 2008 to 2018, 10 years of my more formative military career was spent in special forces, and arguably, the busiest operational output time the service has ever seen to
Yep.
date.
Yep.
So I gained experience through the doing, and through being out constantly, on missions, but learning from incredible people. I was very fortunate. I was surrounded by, Gaz I've mentioned, and other team leaders that were very, very experienced, predominantly from Iraq, but then into Afghanistan. So I was fortunate, that I had the ability to learn from incredible people. But and it doesn't come down to, again, bravery is a choice, and I would agree with that. But it was more a sense of personal pride and flying the flag for the unit, and having and there's also that other saying, is there, if not me, then who? And I think a lot of people should think about that, because if you're placed into a position, everybody understands or should be aware of, the fight, flight, or freeze, mechanism that is baked into, hardwired or baked into people,
Mm.
and it's normally formed as a kid, isn't it? And then you can train your way out of that. And I think
Yep.
you expose yourself to, incredibly hard, difficult, challenging situations and environments, and that then molds you and sort of create this new person, if you will. And that's what special forces are very good at.
Yeah, I agree. Exposure to it, and I was just teaching the How Not to Die beginners course to a bunch of ladies the other day. My assistant instructor went over a lot of people. He's a 13-year, we'll call it SWAT veteran, and 23-year police veteran, so high end, and he's done. I think with his first year, he's in some shooting, so he's actually been in there and done that. And we just say, look, we're just like you, just that we see something, and the time between seeing and acting, our time is like that. Whereas your time currently is the freeze that you spoke of, Staz, is this. It's, oh my God, what do I do? And then eventually there's a reaction. It might be minutes, hours, weeks. But for us, it's instant. And as you're saying, if not me, then who? I was thinking about Christian Craighead, exactly the same. He gets the phone call and literally it's a couple of k's down the road. Why not? And it's literally what we're hardwired to do.
And I think, yeah, exactly that point. And it's about the exposure that you're talking about, the training part, and the element of that is exposure, then repetition, exposure, repetition, multiple times layered across different environments and situations. That gains that experience, and it's learned behavior. Then it becomes autonomous instead of that gap that you talk about, that kind of stress in the gaps. That's just reduced, and it
Mm.
becomes an automatic reaction to situations. And look, don't get me wrong, I've been in situations when I joined special forces that were incredible. My first job that I did has been immortalized in the sergeant's mess as a painting. It's a good job when when they're doing paintings, from a job. But that was my first job in special forces, and I just remember thinking, fucking hell, that was sensory overload. That was wild, and but then I then got exposed to that every night for 6 months for that tour. And then it was like the normal, and then subsequent deployments after that, it was just the norm. And then it's experience is just being gained and gained and gained. So, when I was on my own in a situation, it was just a situation of looking around, what do I have? It's not a question of if I'm going to do it, it's how I'm going to do it and who with.
Yeah, exactly. It reminds me, I had Rusty Furman on about a month ago. Amazing guy.
Yeah, a
And
legend.
yeah, absolute legend. I couldn't believe it. I was speaking to him because he's one of the reasons so many of us joined Special Forces. But for the
Yeah.
listeners, he was one of the first guys into the Iranian embassy siege. But just as you say, that's reminding me, he's done this siege at that high end, and then literally a couple months later into the Falklands. I know you talked about that long years of doing that operational tempo, but those guys are as calm and cool as cucumbers. Then they had Ireland, Belfast going on. Same thing from a different generation. It's just a different mindset, and you've summed it up so well. The mindset of a special forces soldier in that operational environment, which surprised the hell out of me while we're here, because I saw ThruDark on Jason Fox and Ollie Ollerton on SAS Australia. So you saying you got out in 2018, I am absolutely intrigued to find out how in just coming to 2024, how you went from that was your professional job, being a war fighter. How have you started this ThruDark clothing brand, all the things you guys have got going? What kicked this off, and how did you get so good at it is really what I'm going to eventuate to.
Well, firstly, thank you for the kind words at the end. I think it's always good to start with the why.
Yeah.
Why did we turn from door kicking to fabric pulling? The quickest and probably the easiest answer for people to understand is I co-founded the business as well. It's obviously worth stating that this isn't just me, because if it was me, it wouldn't be anywhere near the sort of size and scale and success that it is today.
Yeah.
I co-founded the business with Louis Tinsley, a very good friend of mine. We joined the Marines together, and we were both in Special Forces together. Although we didn't serve operationally together, the last 2 years of my career were spent in the same squadron. I was the ops senior. I was also the chief sniper instructor for the service, etc., etc. But I guess what I'm getting at here is the why. So myself and Louis, we're both 26 years combined service together, about the same, so 13 years, 14 years-ish, give or take a year, into a open engagement contract of 22 years. You sign up for 22 years, but it's an open engagement contract, return of service of 3 years. And for me personally, because I'd touched on it earlier, because I'd done so much in that fucking 10-year period, I'd been blown up, I had so many Pulp Fiction moments of close shaves. And when you're younger as well, and to tip it back to what I originally said about bravery or stupidity, when I look back on it now, because my situation's different, would I do the same things again? I'm not so sure. When you have a wife, you have kids, you have dependents, if you start thinking like that, it's probably time to exit stage right. So for me, I'd kind of ticked all these boxes professionally. I was like tick, 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 and I'm still young. And what would the outside world potentially look like? For me, moving forward, or my career progression within Special Forces was moving further and further away from the pointy end, the stuff that I loved doing. I just loved being an operator, a knuckle dragger, a door kicker. That was me. That was my fucking. I'd kind of found my calling in life. But I was moving further away from that. So the wind was slightly out of my sails. The operational tempo was changing. The areas were changing, and for me, it was like, right, let's leave now on my terms. Let's close this chapter of Special Forces and military. So I'd made that decision, and I thought, and now what? The natural transition for people with our fucking skill sets. Who wants a fucking sniper and a demolitions fucking guy and a sharpshooter out in the civilian wide world? It's slim pickings unless you're doing the natural kind of close protection, or you're instructing in the Far East. But that didn't really appeal to me. I did a bit of that when I left. I was very fortunate with my connections that I had some fantastic jobs working, NFL, Super Bowls and NBA, and kind of really cherry picking jobs. But that was never the goal. I left with the intention of setting up ThruDark with Louis. We'd spoken about this for 6 months before we'd left about, well, what could this look like? You know, Louis's situation was slightly different. He was medically discharged, like most of us, with with injuries, and I think his was a lower back injury. So his hand was forced, but he was also ready. So we started saying, well, what do we like doing? Where do our skill sets lie? And and special forces as well, whether we like it or not. We kind of looked at outward looking, inward looking to us as the kind of cowboys, the cool kids of the military. You know, long hair, beards. We have different kit and equipment, from weapons and optics and clothing. We'd also been given the chance to wear some of the best clothing in the world in all the worst conditions. You know, from the Arctic, the jungle, the desert, Scotland, which is arguably harder than fucking all those places combined. So we had without actually knowing it, or actually we did know it and we just highlighted it, was, we'd operated and thrived in some of the world's most inhospitable conditions, and we knew what good kit was. And we also knew how important good clothing and equipment was.
Yeah.
So we said, nobody's done this before from a special forces background. Nobody's set out and said, look, why don't we attack this outdoor market, with our authenticity, our credibility, our brand story? Let's put all of the thoughts and ideas that we have about clothing, and layer this into a brand. But let's do this to the best ability, to the best of our ability. Let's look at this like a military operation, and let's be different. So we set off with this idea, and fucking hell, looking back now, you need a bit of that naivety to set up a business.
Yeah,
Full
the
stop.
drive, the drive.
Everybody wants to be a fucking, an entrepreneur or own their own business, but the reality is it's fucking hard. It's harder than special forces. It's difficult. There's no, yes, there's the benefits of being your own boss and owning your own company, and all the other obvious things that come with that. But a lot of people, tend not to think about or forget just how difficult it is, and, we threw all the cash in that we had ourselves. We had a founding investor, and those initial years, we're 6 years in now. The first 2 years, fucking hell, you've got no traction. Nobody knows who you are. You've got no money. You're trying to make product. You're trying to test it. You do all this kind of stuff, and it's fucking hard. It's difficult, and
Yeah.
you go through those hard yards, and and people look at it now and say, fuck, it looks huge and it's well done, it's brilliant. But actually, if I look at the success and the reasons for the success, it is, it starts and ends with me and Louis at the top as the co-founders, that drive, and that founder's mentality, bringing across the ethos and some of the thoughts and learnings that we had from special forces. That definitely applies and comes across, or transfers, directly into business. But actually, some of it doesn't as well. So we've had to learn. We've probably had the best business fucking course that you can have. I've been surrounded by good people. If somebody was to ask me what the most important thing is about running or owning a successful business, I would say people. Very similar to special forces. What makes special forces successful is the people in the organization. It's not the cap badge at the end of the day. It's like jiu-jitsu. You can wear a black belt, but if you're shit, you're shit. It's about the people. And we've been very fortunate. We've been very selective. We know what good looks like. We can read character well. And we've been surrounded by good people, and that's very important. Who you bring to the table is I would say arguably the single most important thing with business. So I'm kind of condensing 6-7 years here of work, but trying to make this more digestible and easier for hopefully for the listener. But yeah, it's been a hell of a ride. It's been incredible. It gives me a reason, a purpose to swing my legs out of bed in the morning. It drives me and drives me on. That listen, and we're so young as well as a business now. We've got so many ideas in terms of what we can do. You can only fit so many bits of fruit in your basket, but I'm trying to ram as much as I can in at all the time.
That's our special forces problem, isn't it? We try and grip everything up. Let me walk the listener through ThruDark then, if you allow me, please, Staz.
Of course.
Let's start with the name, because I've gone into this wanting to get to know you and get to know the brand organically. I saw so all of Australia did. Jason Fox and Ollie, I believe, on SS Australia, and Ollie's been on, which is great, and Dean Stott was on as well. Saw ThruDark, saw the brand of this gear. This gear looked different. It straight off looked different, and that was a bit bit weird, and they're going, well, hang on a sec, this guy is pretty clever, he's pretty canny, he's wearing this gear. We looked into it. ThruDark, where did the name come from?
Yeah, so the name is it's fairly obvious in terms of the thought process, but when you're setting up a brand, it's funny now looking back. You get so bothered and drawn into the logos and the words and the names, and looking back now, that's really fucking minor. But actually, I'll counteract that with, it is actually important as well, because it has to have some thought, some meaning, something that people can resonate with. And look, probably two reasons. ThruDark, from a special forces military perspective, most of our operations were conducted through the dark.
Mm-hmm.
We also had to spell it differently as well, in terms of
Yep.
THRUDARK from a social media and a website handle perspective, and
Yep.
all that kind of stuff. So yes, so operating through the dark, and that was a nice tip of the cap to what we used to do. But then we started looking at, what does it mean for people and people that aren't in the military or first responders? Well,
Yeah.
everybody has to deal with some form of darkness, in their life. That everybody, at some point deals with adversity and difficult situations, and it's about how you push through that dark time, which then leads me nicely into our strapline, which is endeavor through adversity. And it all kind of links together quite succinctly, and it's about endeavoring through difficult times, and it's always different for different people, isn't it? What does adversity mean to you? What does it mean to me? It could mean two very different things. What does adversity mean to my 12-year-old boy? Because recently I remember him coming in, and he'd had the hardest day ever at school, and I could sense the frustration and the almost anger, and me trying to talk to him from a logical point of view, which is difficult when to a 12-year-old. But sort of, well, tell me about your day. What's happened? Why is it so hard? What's
Yeah.
happened? And he was saying this and that, and this didn't work, and I was frustrated with this, and I didn't make that, and that was a hard this, and and I'm laughing almost, chuckling, and that was the wrong response from me,
Oh, yeah.
with in hindsight, because look, to him, that was the hardest day. That
Yep.
was the most difficult thing that in his mind at that time that he'd had to deal with,
Yep.
and who am I to say, God, you don't know what difficult is, and it's kind of like, we have to be conscious of that, and it's with everything that's going on, and men's mental health, and all the issues around people and individuals, we have to be conscious of people's adversity and what it means to them, because it's personal, but back to the original point, everybody has to deal with some form of adversity or adversities in their life. And that's what we wanted to do with ThruDark. We wanted to be an aspirational brand. We wanted to inspire people, not just through the outdoors and through getting out, but through the physical aspect as well. And those
Yep.
two are are very intrinsically linked, in terms of physical health, mental well-being, and health and well-being, and being outdoors in the open. And we want to facilitate that through the clothing, but also inspire through our storytelling and the website and the social media platforms as well.
And you're doing it because you're here. I say to people when they ask me about my podcast, which I looked back, and it's been running as a radio show and podcast for 7 years. So, like you, an overnight sensation that took 6 years to get there. Um,
Yeah.
I interview the best people in the world of what they do, and I never say that lightly. And when I say it on a show and the guest is there, sometimes I've got to remind them of that. When you said the reasons for ThruDark, I had an idea about that. And I thought it's brilliant because it gives the consumer, the buyer, a sense of connection, Staz. Um, and that's super important. And as you said, it's individual what adversity someone goes through. It's individual what someone resonates with as well. And I'll never forget GBRS, which you may be aware of because Jay has just teamed up with them, but GBRS group in the States.
Yeah, I
Great
know Jay.
guys. Yeah,
I've
yeah,
spoken to them as well. Good guys.
yeah, really good guys, there to help others. And they were just doing their videos of running and gunning through houses, and nothing was for sale. They were contracted to government agencies. And then the one day they said, hey, here's our belt. Boom, everybody in the world wanted to buy their belt. That felt connection to them. And
Yeah.
you've made a brand, you've made a thing that shows connection and has that sitting there. And you're so right with men's mental health. And if people can grab onto that, I think it's a really cool thing. So thank you for that part of it. Now, again, for listeners and viewers, they don't know anything about ThruDark. We've got some outdoor gear and so on, but what is your sort of mission statement there? What is the gear that you supply?
So I guess the party line or the strap line is, if you hit our website or social media platforms very quickly, you can see we're a high performance outdoor technical clothing brand. But
Mm.
I would say we kind of split across three pillars from product. We have outdoor technical product, everything from an Arctic parka or a bespoke summit suit for extreme conditions. Then we have 3-layer waterproof jackets, down jackets, technical climbing trousers, shorts, tops, and everything else that you would need to not just survive but thrive in the outdoors. And then utility wear, we have kind of more everyday wear, everyday operator wear that's utilitarian, that's robust, but also looks different, quite cool for the urban jungle, if you will,
Yeah.
and traveling and commuting. And then we have the active sort of section as well, and active covers pretty much what it says. It's the gym stuff. So everything from running, trail running, gym workouts, fight specific wear like jiu-jitsu, MMA clothing and bits and pieces as well. So yeah, and the idea is that we just keep adding to these pillars in terms of product offering and architecture and mixture of product as well. We have ideas for fucking all sorts. And actually alongside the civilian side of the business, what a lot of people won't see or be aware of is we actually have our Ghost line as well, which is our military and specialist military units and firearms, police units, assault clothing. So we have everything from a assault pan tops, and again some of our outdoor clothing that is militarized or fit for purpose for firearms police. So
Yeah.
they're kind of two strands running together.
Yeah, brilliant. I'm glad that you put it like that. And the point of difference that I've seen, and that anybody listening and watching will see as soon as they hit the website or any of the socials, is, and this is a huge point of difference, Staz, is you guys are in the gear. It's not some flouncy model in some leggings. It's not some guy down the street trying to look like tactical. It's you guys. And I'll never forget when you and Foxy were uh, doing some abseiling, all kitted up, doing the photo shoots, doing the videos, and it's legit. And that's where you guys started, as you said, you and Louis, right? What are we going to create? Really, I'm really glad to hear that, because it's so legit, you've got government agencies buying into it as well.
Yeah, I mean, thank you. And one that I didn't mention, which I should definitely mention, just because of your location, is a ThruDark X Budgie Smuggler collab, which is about to launch in about 6 weeks, which I'm fucking excited about. We've been bubbling away for about a year, but it's a very tongue in cheek. It'll look very different to the stuff we've done before, but it's all to raise awareness for men's testicular cancer. But with 3 designs, which hopefully you'll love as well. But I know the Aussies, they love a budgie smuggler.
Send them down this way, mate. I'll show the Aussies up as well, as hard as I can.
I love it. Love it, mate. Love it.
They do say that Perth's got some of the. It's so hard for me as a Kiwi, because the rivalry is so big, especially with the rugby. But they do have some of the most beautiful beaches in the world down this way.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think we spoke before, didn't we? I had the pleasure and then the honour of visiting, the Perth and Swanbourne in particular, and driving the whole West Coast, and it was absolute incredible experience and memories I'll take to the grave with me, really.
Okay, well, we'll touch on that memories for the listeners and the viewers, because I am lucky enough to be able to bring some special forces secrets, or, air quotes secrets, to the civilian community, and most of it's tongue in cheek. But Swanbourne, the home of the Australian SAS, or as we call them here, the Special Air Service Regiment, that's on government land, on federal land. And there's a little known fact that there's a nudist beach. And I see Stairs laughing at, so he might know about it.
I don't know what you're talking about.
So there's a nudist beach right where the base is, because the base is on what they call federal land. And
Yeah.
yeah, it overlooks the base overlooks the whole nudist beach. So I'm sure you managed to get a good view of things while you were here at work as well.
Well, it's funny you say that because there are some of the ranges that shoot out that way, isn't there?
Exactly.
And
They need a
some of the long
sentry.
range. Exactly, yeah. And with some of our our precision optics. We were sound a little bit crazy now, but do you know what I thought you were going to do, Damien? Is pull up a photo of me on the onset beach, and I was like, oh, what's he got? What's he got access to?
I'm not that technologically skilled, but
Yeah. I didn't know it was a nudist beach. I didn't know. Yeah.
classic, classic. I do have another story actually. This is one that nobody would have heard. So I'm a fireman. I've been a firefighter for about 12 years now, and one of the guys at the fire station, he's an older lad. He grew up in Perth, and he's fit. And this guy was fit, like he would run a marathon for training. He'd run that in about 2 hours 50, 3 hours, so pretty fast. And
Wow.
and his name is Graham. I don't have to give away his last name, but people listening may remember who he is. And he was telling me a story back in his day, and he'd run along Cottesloe, which is just another beach down from Swanbourne where the SAS are. And the boys had been going for a run for PT, and he was racing them back, and he wouldn't let them catch him, and he was just gone, gone, gone. So me being, ex-New Zealand SAS commando, he always managed to get that little dig into me as well.
And I tell you what, they're annoying, them people as well, aren't they? And they're the same people that go out and drink 10 pints of beer as well and be right as rain the next day. And you just think, fuck, Jesus, come on, give us a chance. Give us a chance.
So you said about people, you surround yourself with people that are great value. It's just amazing to me how you've all come out of SBS. We said some names before. We said Ollie Ollerton, Jason Fox. We said Dean Stott. Just been watching Dean Stott's show on Netflix the last couple of days. Just really great to see.
To watch that. Yeah, is it good?
It gets better as it goes on, and I can say this because I sent the message to Dean this morning and some reviews.
It looks cool.
You got to watch it. Toughest Forces on Earth, if anybody's listening. Toughest Forces on Earth on Netflix, and he comes across so well. So the story goes, the storyline on it stands is there's Dean ex-SBS, so tier 1. There's a SEAL, can't remember his name. He's really funny and like you got to get on the beers with this guy. And there's a Ranger, and you see them all get thrown in different situations, and Dean just always comes across cool as a cucumber and just gets the job done and always wins.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Makes me happy.
Yeah, exactly. Representing. So ThruDark, 6 years in, you do have some amazing high quality gear. It was showcased all over SAS Australia, and that was a superbly popular show here in Australia. Those guys are literal movie stars in this country, which is great. Because I wanted to really figure out ThruDark, business wise, you went from 2018, high end special forces. Business wise, what sort of got you to where you are now in the success space? What skills have you had to bring on board to be where you are now?
I think probably the easiest thing that I could say and legitimately say is, and hopefully it's not too cliche, is bringing across the ethos, from the special forces. And one of the main, strap lines over there is that unrelenting pursuit of excellence.
Yeah.
It's that Kaizen philosophy across all aspects of business and life. And listen, if you want all the secrets, buy my book, The Hard Road. It's all in there. It's all in there, David. No, but
Awesome.
I talk about this in the book, and I talk about some of the key things and the things that I've learned along the way that aren't just applicable to business, but hopefully life. And I draw on my experience within the military and special forces and how it's been applied to business, and also hopefully to my life as well. And I say this like I'm sat here like some wise owl, and I'm I've only just turned 40. And I'm still wet behind the ears, but that was my best stab at it, I guess. But, there's so many factors that come into successful people and successful business. But I think the main thing for me is that unrelenting pursuit of excellence, that drive, that passion, being authentic and genuine and credible to yourself, because people smell bullshit. They see straight through it, in the age that we live in, and the beauty, but also the despair that is social media. And you can show people everything, and that can be a good thing if it's authentic, or it can be a fucking terrible thing. So I think if used in the right way for the right reasons, which hopefully we have, and to my point earlier about the aspirational parts of the brand and storytelling and connection. And look, we're all tribal, aren't we? We're all fucking chimps, running around. We want to feel a part of something. And that's what we try to create with ThruDark. That said, look, fucking hell, we've made loads of mistakes, but we learn. When we fail forward, we fail fast. We're very quick at making decisions. I've seen the difference a lot of times between high performance and, especially in the business world, is that, you know, myself and Louis we're very solutions orientated people, and business is problems. Every day you're getting problems. Some days, you know, they're small problems. Some days they're fucking big problems. And the majority of the time it's a combination of the two. But what we're, you know, hopefully humbly, you know, comes across as humble and with humility, is we're quite adept at making decisions very quickly. And sometimes, you know, for the most part, they're the right decision, you know, because we listen to everybody's perspectives, we take all the information in, we process that information, and then we react and we take a course of action, and we execute on that, you know, very similar to the military. But also similarly to the military, you know, or, you know, we've been sat in orders processes, and we're going to go for COA 1 and for these reasons, and everybody's bought in, and right, let's go. And, you know, you're on the helicopter, you get dropped off, and instantly you go, shit, they've dropped us in the wrong location. And
You
that
got to
happens, you know.
adapt and
It's,
overcome.
it's about how you react to it, you know,
Yep.
and calm is contagious as well in business. You know, if we're fucking running around here with our heads on fire, going shit, oh no, you know, very quickly that uneases people. And, you know, that's not the type of characters that we are. You know, we break everything down logically. We ask for the experts in the room, because look, I don't know the fucking ins and outs of, you know, a back end stack development on the website and how the ERP systems are integrated and all the kind of nuances with technology, but I listen to the specialists in the room. I get their advice and their opinion. I break it down into, okay, the problem, top end. Okay, what are the solutions? All right, we need to make a decision. I think it's this decision. Yeah, agree. Right, let's execute. And if it's not the right decision, then we take that as what it is. We learn from it and we move forward. So it's always about tweaking, changing, being adept to learning. And if you do make a mistake, fucking mentally park it, and
Yep.
just fucking move on and crack on, because, you know, it's as much about failing as it is winning, you know. And again, that sounds cliched in business, but, you know, you have to fail, and don't be afraid of failing.
Yeah, there's that saying, I either win or I learn.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it is that in business, you know, and for the most part, you're learning for the majority of it, which is fun. You know, that's why I said earlier, I've had the best business fucking course anybody can have, and it's been spent on the tools. You know, it's you can talk all you want about being an operator, and you can learn as much as you want and spend as much time on the indoor range as you can turn bullets to brasses for fucking 18 hours a day, but it means nothing until you've got bullets coming back at you, you know, and you have that sensory overload and the smells and the, you know, and the confusion that battle brings, you know, and that, but you have to go through that. Same with business. You can do a business degree in fucking university, and it means nothing until you actually apply that knowledge, you know, practically in the real world.
Yeah.
And I think that's the best way to do anything in life.
I've got two questions off the back of that, and I've got to reverse them because of what you just said there. And I'm trying to drill down there and see if I get this right. Why did you choose to develop high performance gear? Why did you guys choose to develop such quality?
I think, and this isn't me saying this. This was Louis saying this, and I always remember it because it stuck with me. And people have, after saying, they've gone, "Fuck, you've jumped right in at the deep end with super, you know, high quality, high end technical product that, you know, relies so heavily on expert manufacturing and the best fabrics in the world to
Mm,
compete." Because, you know, if it's not, then you end up being nowhere. You know,
yep,
and for us, it was like, well, if we're going to do anything, we want to do it to the best of our ability, but also we want it to be the best. And I think Louis said one day, look, if me and you left Stas and we set up a business and it was a fucking plumbing business, we'd make it the best plumbing business in the fucking south coast of England, you know, and then the best in England, and we'd grow and develop, and we would be the best at what we do. And generally speaking, and again, hopefully, I hope that doesn't come across as a fucking big-headed comment. I mean that in so much that, you know, anything that I've ever wanted to do, I had a failed football career, you know, at a young age, playing for England and all this kind of stuff, and, you know, anything that I've ever tried to turn my hand to, I've always wanted to be the best at it. I've always wanted to be at the very pinnacle of whatever that is. So sport, it was football, it was playing for England. I did that. I then wanted to be a professional. I couldn't do that because I was injured doing motocross. Okay, what's next for me? I want to work in a gym. Okay, I want to be the best gym instructor in the world. I did that for a couple of years. Then I was like, okay, something's missing. Okay, the military.
Yeah.
Right, what's the hardest military course I can do? Right, the Royal Marines. Right, let's do that. Did the Royal Marines. What's the hardest course within the Marines I can do? The sniper course. Right, let's do that. Okay, what's next? What's the hardest fucking unit in the military? Right, the special forces. Okay, let's do that. Then what's the hardest thing in special forces? Let's do that. And leaving special forces, it was, what's the hardest thing I can do now? It's setting up my own business, and within the outdoor world, what does that look like? Well, it doesn't look like second best. It doesn't look
Kathmandu.
like, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And another phrase that runs deep in ThruDark is that'll do, will never do. And that's another Louisism. We keep saying we constantly get delivered product from the product team. We design, develop, and test all the product ourselves. Back to your point about me and Louis being everything because we are the test fucking models. We are the people that have that exacting standard. We know what it needs to perform like, so it has our seal of approval on it. But sometimes you have to, people will try and cut corners and, yeah, but what about this? And we can get that. And it's like, no, that'll do, will never do. Yeah, but it's going to knock the production. I don't care. Just fucking make, it has to be the best, because then when we're studying it or we're promoting it, we can hand on heart say, this is the best product that me, Louis, can say right now with everything that we have at our disposal, from access to factories, fabrics, production, skilled fucking designers. That's the best that we can do right now in our position. And that's hand on heart how we've operated from the very beginning.
Brilliant.
And we'll continue to operate moving forward as well.
You said about people just prior to that and making decisions, and I noticed that you're now sponsoring some athletes in some quite big endeavors with the best gear that you can possibly get. I'm almost putting words in your mouth here, but I would suggest that you're not going to try and give somebody that's doing a life-threatening challenge shit gear. You're going to want them to have the best gear, right? So what was the premise behind sponsoring some of these athletes? And can you talk to about the guys you are sponsoring and what they're doing?
Yeah, I think, again, back to, the kind of why at the beginning was, we had been afforded some of the best kit and clothing in special forces, but fuck, I remember having a bloody parachute failure and, on oxygen at night, 18,000 feet, full mission profile. And to add insult to injury, some of my clothing failed as well, and zips were breaking and clothing flailing around. And I just thought, fuck, surely they could just put an uprated zip on this or do that. And we were looking at things. I was a sniper as well. I was a kit pest. I was always making or taking existing product from shelf and adding and tweaking. And most SF guys will be familiar with that, with your kit and your webbing, and you're always tweaking, thinking, fuck, why didn't they just put a pocket here? Why didn't they make it like this? And fuck, wouldn't it be easier just to put that there and make it like this and make that zip bigger, or put a fucking patch here and do that? And so it was no more than that, really, these ideas and these thoughts of trying to make things better. But to your question, and to answer your question, we like to support people that are not just at a pinnacle in terms of Olympic athletes, but we do that. We support, Olympic athletes and other people in their endeavors and their training. But look, we're here to facilitate. Ultimately, the credit belongs to these people. And how can we facilitate? By giving them the best opportunity they have and can through clothing. And a good example to give is one that's at the forefront of my mind, because he has a world title defense coming up, is Chris Billam-Smith, the cruiserweight British and world champion, a personal friend of ours from down here on the south coast of Bournemouth. We've been supporting him for the best part of 4 to 5 years now, and we support him through the kit and the clothing and the designs and bits and pieces. But we don't do boxing gear. We're not a boxing outfit, but we can make him feel supported through providing the best kit and clothing that he can have when he steps on into that arena, to do what he does best. And then we've supported through Arctic expeditions. We've supported climbing the highest mountains in the world, through bespoke summit suits and bits and pieces, and all the other technical clothing as well. And then it's been kind of smaller scale as well, through athletes in jiu-jitsu and fighting and other bits and pieces as well. So it's kind of a broad spectrum across all our different athletes and former Olympic champions and England rugby captains and Foxies and all these people. So for us, though, it's not necessarily just putting it on the person and having no connection. We just love to have a connection with the people, really, and make it authentic and genuine, rather than just, paying a load of money to somebody that's at the top of their field just to wear your logo. And I think for the most part, people see through that.
Yeah, I agree. That's again how we ended up here, how I ended up speaking to you, because of I've only realized through this show of why you resonate so much. And you talked about purpose in the first half of the show. You talked about connection there, coming out of a high-end unit, a high-end sports team, purpose, identity, connection. You lose those three, and you're literally not going to be there the next day. You're not going to get out of bed, and you probably won't. Your heart won't be beating, sort of thing. To not lay it out too straight, but you've got connection, you've got purpose, and your identity is obviously being shaped there as well. So it's really nice to see the transition of things there for you.
Yeah, no, I think, to touch on it again, I think there's a great book, what's it bloody called? And it happens with men as well in particular, not to say again that it doesn't affect women, but I do think women, I'm going to get fucking killed and vilified for saying this, I think women tend to handle stress and pressure better than men in some instances, in certain scenarios and situations.
Can I just pause that, Staz, and
Yeah.
back you up on that? With 3 former special forces operators that I've had on the show, somehow it's come about, and it's coming about here. My own belief is that a single mum doing it right is far tougher than any special forces operator, because we get a break, don't we? So I agree with
Yeah.
that totally.
Yeah. That point, you realize this as you get older. And I just think that stress and pressure, and listen, I think we're wired differently. We know that. And that's not a thought. That's backed up by science. But I think we put an incredible amount of pressure on ourselves as men, to be providers, to be protectors. And listen, this for me is a responsibility to bear, and pressure is a privilege, and I welcome this, but it can at times feel overwhelming for people, and if one of these pillars fall, if you're not financially set or secure, it adds so much stress and pressure as the man of the house to be the provider. And
Yep.
what am I, we have so much self-induced pressure, which is good to a point, but not when it flips the other way. And and back to my point that I'm trying to poorly articulate here or round off, is that we go through life as, and it's that sort of 2 mountains that we climb. The first mountain, is from birth up to about 40 years old. Most people will more commonly know, or it referred to as, that kind of midlife crisis, because we do everything that we want to do or set out to achieve, or we've tried to achieve personally and professionally, marriage, kids, career. Generally speaking, around 40, you're at the kind of top echelon of your career. You're now a CEO, or you're a high flyer, and then all of a sudden you have that, fuck, I'm at the top of the mountain, what's next? And a lot of people fall off that mountain and then go, shit, I don't know what my next fucking summit is. I don't know where I'm heading towards. What's my purpose? Why am I here? The kids have blown the nest, or I'm not that happy in my relationship anymore, or I've kind of forgotten about me and what's important to me as an individual. And it's shit, maybe it's not all about working, a high flying job and not seeing my kids, and shit, I can't buy that time back, and the guilt and the anxiety that's associated to that is terrible, and so we talk about that next mountain that people have to climb, and its purpose. And I was fortunate when I left Special Forces, and listen, it's not fucking easy when you leave the mob, when you leave that echo chamber and that band of brothers and that world that you've worked so hard to get to, because if we rewind back to 2008, when I was going on selection, that was all I could think about. It consumed me, being a special forces operator. Selfishly, it's the best job in the world, but the most selfish job in the world. It just consumed me. All day, anything and everything I could think about was being special forces. And you have to, it has to be like that to, if you've got any element of doubt or stress, then that's when these people pull off course. And I understand that. But for me, it wasn't. It was just my sole focus and purpose and mission and drive was that. And then you leave and then you go, fuck, now what? I've attached so much of my identity to who I used to be and what I used to do. And then it's humbling, but in a good way. You know, I remember going to London for a couple of meetings, and, you know, I'm Staz, and, you know, CGC and former special boat service, and somebody going, what the fuck does that mean? You know, and it's kind of like, oh, fuck. You know, most people understand special forces, but some people fucking don't, you know, or they just go, it means nothing to me, you know, I'm whatever, this is where I'm heading. And it humbles you in a good way. And then you have to think, well, and I spoke about closing the chapter. You have to go, right, it's now time to develop, actually, who am I? What is important to me? You know, it's family first. And then it's purpose. What's my next purpose? You know, and I have to keep myself physically fit. This is me personally now. I'm not talking for everybody else. A big non-negotiable is being physically fit and active. And thankfully I fell into jiu-jitsu, which has been incredible. You know, I've still continued to train and run and gym, but jiu-jitsu has been the one thing for me, because it's that perpetual learning that I love. You know, it's humbling. And then it was also, alongside that was the business, was ThruDark, and people very similar to professional sports athletes and people that leave, you know, like first responders. You know, you leave that kind of identity and you retire and you go, fuck, now what? And it's hard, you know, and people deal with it in different ways, and the behavior manifests in negative ways, you know, overthinking or drinking, you know, or drugs or partying or just not being present. Isolation, not talking to people. And I was lucky because we had ThruDark. We that was then my North Star that I was just fucking fully focused on, and still am to this day. But I also had Louis, you know, next to me, who understood, who knew me, you know, and he was going through the same things as well. So to have somebody there, I think that's why, you know, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, you go together. And I'm very fortunate that, you know, I had Louis to lean into and to speak to daily, and still to this day now. So yeah, I think that second mountain is important for people, but it all comes back around to purpose, you know. And if men don't have purpose, they become lost.
You're so right. A man without purpose is lost. Gosh, I never know where these shows are going to go, Stairs, and I did not consider that we'd be starting to talk about mental health, and specifically men's mental health. Again, it reminds you of Jason Fox and Ollie Ollerton, two guys stated in their books, and Ollie's book saved my life. I've said that to him direct. You know, they're really alone, but you look at yourself, and you said you and Louis, you know, man, husband of a kind. And then you look at Atlanta and Dean Stott, you know, always there for each other. And that's how we operated. We operated with our buddies beside us. Same thing in the fire brigade, operate with your fire partner. And I think it's really interesting. You've all come out to a great place, but some of you may have had an easier road than that, than some of the other people.
And I want to just touch as well about how important, because we've spoken about the professional aspect and the business and ThruDark, and, you know, what's important for business and ThruDark and people, and, you know, and then my man husband Louis, you know, but it's also worth mentioning just how important your partner is. You know, my wife, Ruby. You know, I had a failed marriage. You know, I met my first wife super young, 17, 18 years old, married too early in the Marines, and we were together a long time, but became very different people. And me, from the selfish point of view, you know, just fully focused on my career. And then I think it's important then, you know, who you decide to bring in as your life partner, your wife, you know, whatever that looks like, husband, you know, wife, whatever that is. It's probably, above all else, the single most important decision that you can make in your life, you know. And I am super grateful and thankful, you know, that the person that Ruby's allowed me to become, and what she's allowed me to do in terms of chasing my dreams selfishly again, but supporting the kids and the family. And it's not just about me saying, oh, she's let me do what I want to do. It's not about that as well. It's about recognizing and understanding that, you know, you have to give and take in relationships as well, don't you? And I'm so lucky and so fortunate in that respect.
Yeah, you're so right. The sharing your life. There's an American guy. He must have been a paramedic in the fire brigade in the USA. I'm not sure what they call them. There's fancy names for them there, but he does a lot of this mental health and PTSD awareness stuff. But his wife also comes on as well, and you know, they're the person you got to wake up with the next day. And they're the family that's going to be there for you all the time. So don't go kicking off at them. Don't go pushing them away, because they're there with you every minute, and they're there to help you and have the best in mind for you. So you're right, Staz. You got to choose wisely on those people.
And it's communication as well, isn't it? I've and it's managed, it's wisdom, wasted on the youth and stuff. But because you get a bit older, a bit more self-reflective, and you become a better communicator as well, and you articulate your thoughts better, generally speaking. And I've had moments of looking and thinking, gee, am I communicating effectively? And a lot of times, similar to business actually, and the special forces, if I always look at it the other way, and you can't be frustrated if people don't know what you mean. I
No,
always think if somebody doesn't understand what I'm saying, I'm doing a poor job of explaining this. I'm
exactly.
doing a poor job of articulating my point to the team. And it happens a bit. I go, why don't you understand what's in my mind? Like, and is it Einstein says about that's what intelligence is, isn't it? It's about saying what you need to say with the least amount of words, but making everybody understand what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
That's intelligence. And but having the EQ as well to understand that, and to go and to be humble and go, an open communication, because men were terrible at that. We fucking just hold everything in, and we expect people to understand what we're feeling through our grunts and our moans and our introverted approach to things, because we think, oh, I don't want to burden people with my thoughts, or it's my job to be positive. And when we talk about the three masks that people wear, and that first mask is the mask that we show to everybody, and it's, I'm Staz, I'm this, I'm that, and I'm fun to be around, and everybody come on, like me, and well, let's do all this. And actually it's draining. That
Yeah.
mask is fucking tiring, and you take that off when you go home. And then you have the next mask that you show to your loved ones, your friends, your family, that might be a little bit more real. It might be a bit more raw. You might, not be as fun, or you might be a little bit, more emotional, or short-tempered, etc. But actually, the most important mask is the last mask. It's the mask that, that's your true self. That's the person. There's that beautiful poem, which is my favorite, and it's "The Man in the Glass," and I think
Mm.
it's brilliant. You can cheat everybody else, but what matters most is the man staring back at you in the glass. That isn't the poem, by the way. It's bigger than that, but that's a short poem. But it's a beautiful poem, and it talks about being honest and open with yourself. And you can cheat everybody else, and you can lie to everybody else, and pretend to be something you're not. But what's the most important thing? It's about being true to you as an individual, and understanding, know thyself and understand yourself as best as possible.
It's amazing being able to interview such people, Stairs. And when you're saying that, I just can't get over these Walter Mitties that go around pretending that they are what they're not, and especially thinking of special forces, and how can they look at themselves in the mirror? It's kind of like the self-defense that I teach. I've got 20 nice, normal people in front of me, and they don't comprehend that bad guys do bad things, and their framework of niceness you can't put on a bad guy. They might go, why would he do that? Irrelevant. Don't put your
Yeah.
don't put your boundaries and your nice life onto them, because bad guys do bad things. But yeah, humor and humility, integrity, all those things are just a trait that all the people on this show have from all walks of life. I've got two questions to ask you though to finish off, and I know you're busy, so I appreciate your time. Um, One is SAS versus SBS, because you didn't say what people sort of 15 years ago said. I joined the Royal Marines and I joined the SBS. You said you joined Special Forces. So did you make a conscious decision like Stoddy did to go SBS, or was there a reason why
Yeah.
you chose that?
Um, yeah. So obviously, without giving a full history lesson and breakdown for people, because it's fairly boring, but obviously separate units or separate regiments. all under the same umbrella of UK Special Forces. That happened fairly recently in the grand scheme of things, 2002, and we had our own cap badge change and SBS, and then it was joint UK Special Forces selection. So we're doing selection together, and ultimately, at the beginning of selection, you just put your preference down as to which unit you're applying for.
Yep.
This is the norm, or ordinarily speaking, most guys that are in the Royal Marines tend to go to the SBS. That's not always the case, but I'd say a huge percentage or proportion of those people tend to lean or veer towards the SBS, and the army regiments, the paras, lean more towards the SAS. I might be wrong on the numbers here, but certainly when I did selection, I think the Royal Marines made up something like 65% of the whole of UK Special Forces. So it just comes down to personal preference. And a lot of this times it's not as deep as anything other than, my family home is closer to the SBS base or closer to the SAS base. Or I've got friends that I used to be in the Marines with that have gone on to selection that are now serving in the SBS. And that was similar for me. It was Ant Middletons and Foxes and people that I knew I served with in the Marines, then went on to the SBS, and you're just in contact with them. How is it in the SBS? Oh, it's fucking brilliant. All right, I'll put him in the SBS then, or I don't know that many people in the SAS. So that was the kind of main thought process behind that. I think obviously everybody knows the kind of, most people know the history and the why and the forming of both regiments, but we've got to remember, Damien, that the SAS needed heroes too, so that's why the SBS was formed.
Well played, mate. Well played.
I'm gonna get killed out for that.
Oh gosh, I'll pull this together. Don't know how I'm going to pull it out of the hat, but you mentioned before you actually played for football, for England.
Yeah.
Rusty Furman, again, I organically get to know a guest on the show. He was actually his aspiration was to be a professional footballer. He ended up playing for England military. I'm not sure if it was Army team or whatever, but he represented England as well. So not sure if you know that fact, but I'd like to connect you two, obviously, offline. You've got a joint soccer background, and you can tease the hell out of each other about your cat badge as much as you want.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. It's weird in the military in general and special forces. Most people are a failed fill in the blank of some type or form of sport, be that rugby or soccer, football, etc., etc. But it's quite cool, really. I think it's what next when you, as a kid, you put all the eggs in that basket of I'm going to be a footballer and I'm playing for England, or I'm at Fulham at these professional teams, and then the rug gets pulled. And then you have to reevaluate and reassess. But it's a crazy eclectic mix of individuals and people that form special forces. Because a lot of people think, what is the stereotypical operator? And I'm like, fucking hell, we are, it's such a mad, varying mix of people, from ex-footballers, rugby, to farm people that are very intelligent, people that are counsel, people that are travelers. But it's just a mad mix of people.
It is, and what gets me, I'm thinking about my squadron, and the background, and the listeners and viewers mostly know in the commando squadron, the counter-terrorist squadron. I'd have a geek in one group. I'd have a stoker from the Navy in another group. I had two Air Force guys in mine, an ex-Army guy, and so on. It's just all over the place. And one of the Air Force guys, he was a big lad, 115 kilos. This guy runs through walls. Willie Appiata, I remember we had to smash through a door. Somebody pushed him over the door, and we all ran over him. He was that big. And then you got some tiny little nerd that is just as hard as nails with you with a gun, and will run you all day. So you can't pick them, but the mindset's there to get the job done.
God, it's great. I think that's the main point from that. It's the state of mind, that mindset, and that belief. Because you fucking absolutely cannot judge a book by its cover, and we all do it. It's natural, isn't it? When I started selection in summer 2008, there were 240 people that started. 6 of us passed for the SBS, and at the start of that, if you'd have said, what you think in your mind of what a special forces operator should and could look like, and you look left and you look right, and then you think, oh fuck, what am I doing here? That doubt creeps in, and it's not actually till you get further down the selection process and you're in the jungle and you think, fuck it, not only what the fuck am I still doing here, but geez, how has he managed to drag his, skinny ass through the course, and that big dude that's just been airlifted out hasn't, this
Yeah.
kind of man mountain of people. But it's surprising, but good surprising.
Yeah, absolutely. Gosh, it's been amazing talking to you, Staz. I no idea where the show is going to go. We ticked off some of the boxes, which is great, and went on to some others. Thank you for opening up so much, particularly on the mental health side. And just, yeah, again, congratulations on what you've achieved with ThruDark, and I wish you all the best with it. As I said, the show notes are narrated and on video and audio at the start, but listening now, where do people go to find ThruDark and more about you and the book and
So
the book?
Thank you, Damien. No, and before I do that, thank you. Thanks for having me on. It's been an absolute pleasure. I love talking to people like yourself, and spreading the message. Hopefully, there's been some value add for people out there. If not, apologies for my ramblings. You can find ThruDark, across all the websites. It's www.throudark, ThruDark.com, and across the social channels, Instagram, and all. I think we're even on bloody TikTok and all that mad stuff now. For me personally, it's Staz at OnlyFans. That's not, same again. It's
Well played,
not that
mate.
one. Not that one. It's Instagram. It's Staz ThruDark, STAZ ThruDark on handles and bits and pieces. But and the book, The Hard Road Will Take You Home, that's available Amazon and all those kind of bits and pieces as well. But no, I appreciate the opportunity. It's been great to talk to you, and thank you.
Oh, you're more than welcome. Absolute pleasure. And you've definitely said some things in this show that'll help someone out there. So we've done our job.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Hi, thanks for watching. I'm Damien Porter, former New Zealand Special Forces operator and former Australian police officer, and your podcast host. Please check out my new project at hownottoDieGuy.com, where I teach everything you need to know to both males and females, at-risk populations, schools, kids, and the elderly, for self-defense, situational awareness, and all-round skills that every good person should know. Thanks for watching.